My daughter-in-law convinced my son to suspend me until I learned to respect her. I simply replied, "Okay." The next morning, she walked in smiling until she saw my empty desk and my letter of resignation. The company lawyer rushed in, his face pale. "Tell me you did not send this." My daughter-in-law's smile vanished in that very instant. It is 5:47 in the morning. My hands are trembling as I sign the letter that is going to change everything. The pen slips between my fingers. Arthritis, just a part of getting old, but I managed to trace my full name. Eleanor Vance. 42 years of building an empire from scratch. 40 seconds to demolish it all with a single signature. The silence of the empty office surrounds me like a cold hug. It still smells like stale coffee and the cigarettes that Mr. Stevens, the security guard, smokes secretly in the parking lot. I fold the letter, carefully slide it into the manila envelope, and press the seal with my thumb. Done. Irrevocable. Do you know what it feels like when your own son asks you to reflect on your attitude? When the woman you brought into your family looks at you as if you were an old piece of furniture cluttering up the living room. Do you know how much that hurts? Let me tell you how I got here, because this story does not start today in this dark early morning where I am making the most radical decision of my life. It starts 42 years ago when my husband Julian and I signed a loan for $20,000 to open a small industrial manufacturing shop on the outskirts of Cleveland, Ohio. We were young, foolish, and in love. We had a 6-month-old baby, Ryan, and a dream much bigger than our common sense. Vance Industries grew slowly the way well-made things do. Julian handled sales, I handled production and quality control. We took turns watching Ryan, who slept in a makeshift crib in the warehouse amidst the noise of the machines. We had no money for daycare. We barely had money to eat, but we grew. 10 employees became 50, became 120. By the time Ryan turned 15, we were a serious corporation. International certifications contracts with multinational firms, new offices in a 3-story building. I specialized. I traveled to Switzerland to train in ISO standards. I became Engineer Vance, the expert. Everyone wanted to hire. Julian died 9 years ago. A massive heart attack, without warning, right in the middle of a client meeting. The last thing he said to me that morning was, "Ellie, do not forget to water the plants on the balcony." I never watered those plants again. They dried up just like something inside me dried up too. Ryan, my only son, was 35 when he lost his father. He was already working at the company in the sales department. He was good at sales, charismatic, sociable, but he lacked. How do I say this without sounding cruel? He lacked a backbone. He always sought approval, avoided conflict, needed everyone to like him. I knew it, I saw it, and I loved him despite it. Then came Brenda. 4 years ago, on a random Tuesday, Ryan walked into my office with a nervous smile. "Mom, I want to introduce you to someone special." Brenda was 33 with a master's in business administration. She wore perfect tailored pantsuits and had that smile that promises everything and commits to nothing. An external consultant specialized in process optimization. The first few months were perfect, too perfect. She called me Mama Ellie with that sweet tone that I now recognize as poison, disguised as honey. She brought donuts on Sundays, asked about my health, praised my decisions in board meetings. I, being naive, thought to myself, finally, Ryan has found someone of value. On their wedding day, I gave her the antique silver brooch that had belonged to my mother, a simple piece of jewelry but full of history. My grandmother gave it to my mother on her deathbed. My mother gave it to me when Ryan was born. "It is for you, Brenda. Now you are part of this family." She cried, or she pretended to cry. I no longer know how to distinguish what was real with that woman. The change was so gradual I did not see it coming. First, she stopped calling me Mama Ellie. It became Eleanor to maintain professionalism in the office. Then she started contradicting me in meetings, always with that polite smile, always touching the silver brooch as if it were an amulet of power. If this story is grabbing you, subscribe to the channel, because what is coming is much worse than you imagine. A year ago, during a major audit with the Sterling Group, a contract worth $500,000, Brenda presented an analysis that contradicted my technical specifications. In front of the clients, in front of my team. With all due respect, Eleanor, I think your approach is outdated. We need more modern methods. Ryan said nothing. He just looked at his cell phone, uncomfortable, avoiding my eyes. That was the first day I felt fear. Fear of losing something bigger than a contract. Fear of losing my son. And I was right, because what Brenda built during those years was not a career in my company. It was a perfect trap, and I, like a fool, walked right into it, watching her hold my mother's silver brooch in her hands. But that morning, signing the resignation letter, I was no longer the same woman. What Brenda did not know is that I also knew how to play, and my first move had just begun. The first time I suspected Brenda was on a Thursday afternoon. 2 years had passed since the wedding, and my daughter-in-law no longer brought donuts on Sundays. In fact, she hardly ever came to my house anymore. Family gatherings moved to her apartment, a minimalist place with white furniture where everything seemed designed to make you feel like you were making a mess just by existing. That Thursday, I saw her leaving an Italian bistro downtown. She was not alone. She was accompanied by Miranda Solis, the director of operations for our direct competitor Midwest Manufacturing. I saw them laughing, clinking wine glasses, exchanging documents inside a beige folder. My stomach twisted. There was something about the way Brenda looked around, nervous, calculating, that gave me goosebumps. I did not say anything to them. I still wanted to believe there was an innocent explanation. How stupid I was. The signs were there, clear as water, but I chose not to see them, because seeing them meant accepting that my son had married someone capable of betraying us. And a mother always wants to believe the best about the people her children love. In the office, Brenda became bolder. She began to question every one of my decisions in management meetings. Are you sure that vendor is reliable, Eleanor? Maybe we should consider cheaper options, the ISO. Certifications are fine, but do we really need to renew all of them? She always said it with that soft voice, almost maternal, as if she were helping me see my mistakes. And always, always she touched the silver brooch while she spoke. My brooch? My mother's brooch. The one I gave her, believing it would become part of our family history. Now it was a weapon. Every time she touched it in front of me, it was as if she were saying, I am more family than you are now. The other managers started looking at me differently. Diane, my right hand in production for 18 years, sought me out in the hallway one day. She lowered her voice. Eleanor, Brenda is saying that you blocked her proposal for the inventory system update. Is that true, Diane? That proposal eliminated all manual quality controls. We could pass defective products without detecting them. I know I read the proposal, but she is convincing Ryan that you are the one refusing to evolve. That night, I called my son. Ryan, we need to talk about Brenda and her role in the company. A long silence on the other end. Then his voice sounded tense. Mom, Brenda is only trying to help. You are sometimes very hard on her. Hard, Ryan. She is taking decisions without consulting me. She is leaking confidential information. What mom, that is ridiculous. Brenda would never do something like that. I saw her having lunch with Miranda Solis. Do you know who that is? The direct competition? Another silence. Heavier this time. Mom Brenda has friends. You cannot control who she has lunch with. Something in his tone broke me. It was not a defense. It was annoyance, as if I were the problem, as if my legitimate concerns were the paranoia of a jealous old woman. I hung up without saying goodbye. That night I cried, hugging the carved wooden box where I keep Julian's letters. 38 letters, one for each anniversary until his death. The box smells of cedar and sadness. I pulled out a letter at random, Julian's handwriting firm and clear. Ellie, my love, you are the smartest woman I know, but sometimes your intelligence makes you see dangers where there are none. Trust a little more. Life has good things, too. "You were wrong, Julian," I whispered to the yellowing paper. "This time the danger is real." 3 weeks later, I discovered the first proof. Our internal email system keeps automatic logs of all attached files, a security routine I implemented years ago. Reviewing the monthly reports, I found something strange. Brenda had sent 17 emails with files to an external address. The address ended in m.solis@midwestmfg.com. Miranda Solis. I opened the logs with trembling hands. Technical specifications of our products, client lists, profit margins, commercial strategies, everything. Brenda was giving everything to our competition. I printed the evidence. I put it in an envelope. I went straight to Ryan's office. "Look at this." My son read the documents with a furrowed brow. I expected him to explode, to be indignant, to defend his mother and the company we built with blood and tears. Instead, he placed the papers on the desk and looked at me with exhaustion. "Mom, there has to be an explanation for this. Maybe Brenda is consulting, looking for industry references. References, Ryan, she is sharing our industrial secrets. You are exaggerating. You always exaggerate when it comes to Brenda. Exaggerating your wife is committing industrial espionage, and you say I am exaggerating." He stood up. His face hardened in a way I did not recognize. "Enough, Mom. I am tired of your attacks against my wife. Brenda is right. You are authoritarian, controlling, and you cannot stand that someone else has good ideas." Every word was a slap in the face. "Ryan, no. This conversation is over, and I am going to ask you that from now on. If you have a problem with Brenda, speak with me first. Do not harass her directly." "Harass her? I am the director of quality for this company. It is my job. You are my mother, and I am asking you to respect my wife." I walked out of that office feeling like the floor was opening up beneath my feet. In the hallway, Brenda was waiting, leaning against the wall. She saw me come out and smiled. A small, almost imperceptible smile. She touched the silver brooch, and I knew with absolute clarity that this was war. A war she had been planning for years, and I was just beginning to understand the rules. But there was something Brenda did not know about me. When you build yourself from nothing, when you save a company from bankruptcy by selling your beach house, when you survive losing the love of your life and still keep going, you learn to fight. And I was ready to fight dirty. 6 months after the email incident, the situation worsened in ways I never imagined. Brenda did not even bother to hide it anymore. She moved through the company as if she were the owner, made decisions without consulting me. And the worst part, Ryan backed her on everything. One Tuesday in October, I received a call from the Sterling Group. Mr. Palacios, their purchasing director, sounded tense. "Engineer Vance, we need to talk about the modifications to the delivery protocol that your team proposed." I froze. "What modifications? We have not proposed any changes. We received a document signed by Mrs. Brenda Vance. It says that you authorized reducing the quality inspections from 3 to 1 to speed up delivery times." My mouth went dry. "Mr. Palacios, I did not authorize that. Those inspections are mandatory per the contract. Without them, we risk the entire certification." An awkward silence. "Engineer, I understand there might be internal confusion, but we need clarity. This contract is worth a lot of money. We cannot risk non-compliance." I hung up and ran to Ryan's office. I entered without knocking. Brenda was there sitting at my son's desk as if it were hers, reviewing papers. "Did you authorize changes to the Sterling protocol without consulting me?" Brenda looked up with insulting calm. "Good morning to you too, Eleanor. Answer the question. I made an optimization proposal. The client was frustrated with the delivery times. I was just trying to solve a problem that you do not understand. Those inspections are an ISO certification requirement. Without them, we lose everything." Ryan intervened. "Mom, Brenda is right. The client was complaining. And why did you not come to me first? I am responsible for quality control." Brenda leaned back in the chair. She crossed her legs. "Because every time someone suggests something new, you block it. You are a bottleneck, Eleanor. The company needs agility, not your controlling paranoia. The blood rushed to my face. Paranoia, you are putting our biggest contract at risk. I am saving the contract that you were about to lose because of your rigidity. I turned to Ryan. Are you going to allow her to speak to me like that? My son looked at his desk. He did not look at me. Mom, maybe Brenda has a point. Sometimes you are inflexible. I felt as if I had been punched in the chest. I cannot believe what I am hearing. Look, Ryan sighed. We are all stressed. Why don't you take the rest of the day off? We will handle this. The word burned me. Ryan, this is my department. I built these protocols, and we appreciate everything you have done. Brenda smiled. That smile. But things change. Companies evolve. Sometimes you have to let go of control. I left before I said something I would regret. In the hallway, Oliver, my head of quality, caught up with me. Mrs. Vance. I heard everything. This is bad, very bad. I know Oliver. That modification Brenda proposed violates 3 different regulations. If Sterling accepts it and then there is a problem, they can sue us. I know, I repeated, feeling the weight of the world on my shoulders. What are we going to do? I looked him in the eyes. This man had worked with me for 15 years. I had hired him right out of college. For now, nothing. Document everything. Every email, every decision. We are going to need it. That night, Ryan called me. Mom, we need to talk. Brenda and I want to invite you to dinner on Sunday at our house. Something in his tone alerted me about what it is better if we discuss it in person. Bring Isabella. She has not seen her grandmother in a while. Isabella, my 8-year-old granddaughter, the only pure light left in this nightmare. Okay, I will be there. On Sunday, I arrived at 3 in the afternoon. I rang the doorbell. Brenda opened the door, dressed in immaculate white, the silver brooch shining on her lapel. Eleanor. How punctual. Come in. The house smelled of roast chicken and something else I could not identify. Tension, perhaps. Isabella ran to hug me. Grandma Ellie. I missed you. I lifted her in my arms, even though my back protested. Me too, my love. How is the prettiest girl in the world? Isabella, go to your room. Brenda cut the moment with a dry voice. The adults need to talk, but Mom. To your room now. My granddaughter looked at me with sad eyes and obeyed. Seeing that broke my heart. The way Brenda spoke to her as if she were a dog being ordered around. They took me to the living room, that cold space with its expensive Scandinavian furniture that Brenda bought with her consultant salary. I sat in the armchair that was always assigned to me, the one facing the 2 of them like in an interrogation. Ryan cleared his throat. Mom, this is not easy to say. Brenda put her hand over his, a possessive gesture. Eleanor, we have been talking a lot about the dynamic in the company. The dynamic, I crossed my arms. Yes, and we have reached a difficult but necessary conclusion. Brenda took a deep breath as if what she was about to say hurt her. Pure acting. We believe that your presence is generating unnecessary conflicts. The air grew thick. Unnecessary conflicts. My voice came out dangerously calm. Ryan took the floor. Mom, you are incredible at what you do. Nobody denies that, but your way of working is clashing with the new generations, with the new ways of doing things. New ways, Ryan. I have been in this for 40 years. Exactly. Brenda leaned forward. 40 years. And the world changed. We need agility technology, modern methods. We cannot keep operating like it is the 80s. We do not operate like it is the 80s. We have the most up-to-date certifications in the country, which you control. Brenda raised her voice slightly. Everything goes through you. Everything needs your approval. You suffocate innovation. I guarantee quality. It is different. Mom, Ryan looked at me and I saw something terrible in his eyes. Pity. We have decided that you need to take some time. My heart skipped a beat. Some time, a temporary suspension. Brenda was almost smiling. Unpaid. So you can reflect on your attitude, on how you relate to the team, on your resistance to change. Are you firing me? Number Ryan shook his head quickly. It is temporary. You just need to learn to respect us as professionals, to respect our decisions. When you are ready to work as a team, you can come back. I remained silent, looking at them. Brenda touched the silver brooch with barely contained satisfaction. Ryan avoided my eyes. A coward until the end. 42 years. 42 years building, sacrificing. I sold my beach house. I worked entire nights. I missed birthdays and graduations, all so this company would survive, and my own son was asking me to learn to respect them. But something strange happened in that moment. Instead of screaming, instead of crying, instead of begging, I felt a cold calm descending down my spine. The same calm I felt when Julian died, and I knew I had to keep going alone. I stood up. Okay. Brenda blinked. What? Okay, I respect your decision. Ryan seemed confused. Really, Mom? I thought you were going to... To what? To fight, to beg. I smiled. A small, tranquil smile. No, I respect your decision. Anything else? An awkward silence. Brenda did not expect this reaction. Her smile faltered. Then I am leaving. Isabella? I called down the hallway. Grandma has to go, my love. My granddaughter came running out. I hugged her tight. I inhaled the strawberry shampoo scent of her hair. I love you, little one. Never forget that. I love you, Grandma. I walked toward the door. Brenda followed me, recovering her victorious air. Eleanor, this is for your own good. You will see that when you return. I stopped in the doorway. I looked her straight in the eyes. Brenda, can I ask you something? Of course. That brooch you are wearing, do you know what it means? Her hand flew to the pin. It is beautiful. You gave it to me. It belonged to 3 generations of Vance women, strong women who built legacies, women who did not need to steal to stand out. Her smile froze. Take good care of it, I said softly, because it is the only thing from this family that you are going to keep. I walked out to the street. The October sun warmed my face. I got into my car, closed the door, and there, finally in the privacy of my vehicle, I let the tears fall. But they were not tears of defeat. They were tears of liberation, because they had just made the biggest mistake of their lives, and I had 42 years of experience to teach them what it means to underestimate Eleanor Vance. I arrived at my house at 7 in the evening. The house I bought 20 years ago after selling the one at the beach is smaller, simpler, but it is mine. Every piece of furniture, every painting on the wall, every plant in the garden I paid for with my work. Julian died here in the living room reading the newspaper with a half-finished cup of coffee on the little table. His heart simply stopped. There was no time for goodbyes. There were no profound last words, just the sudden silence and the coffee getting cold. That night I walked through the empty hallways like a ghost. The walls are full of photographs. Ryan as a baby covered in flour because he tried to help me make bread. Ryan at 10 years old in his first soccer uniform. Ryan graduating from college, me hugging him with pride. Julian and I on our 20th anniversary dancing in the garden under the Christmas lights. At what moment did everything twist? When did I stop being the mother he admired to become the obstacle he had to remove? I poured myself a tequila. I do not usually drink, but that night I needed it. I sat in Julian's armchair. No one sits there since he died, and I let the liquor burn my throat. Was it worth it, Julian? I asked the emptiness. So much sacrifice for this. The clock in the living room showed 11 at night. I had not eaten anything. I was not hungry. I only had a void in my chest that threatened to swallow me whole. I got up and went to my bedroom. From the closet, I took out the carved wooden box, pure cedar with my initials engraved on the lid, ERV Eleanor Rivers Vance. I bought it at an artisan market during our honeymoon. Julian saw it and said, "Here we will keep all our important memories." Inside are the 38 letters he wrote me, one every anniversary, yellowed paper blue ink, his handwriting firm and clear. I took one at random. The one from our 25th anniversary. Ellie, love of my life. Today we complete a quarter of a century together. 25 years of laughter, fights, reconciliations, achievements, and failures. And I would not change a single day. You are the strongest woman I know. But sometimes that strength makes you forget that you can also rest, that you can also let go. Remember, strength is also in knowing when to let go. I love you today and always. Julian. The tears fell on the paper. Let go when to let go, I whispered. Julian, they are ripping everything away from me. How am I supposed to just let go like that? But there was something else in that box, something that not even Ryan knew about. Beneath the letters wrapped in a black velvet bag were the documents from the crash of '97, the recession that almost destroyed us. A brutal economic recession hit the market. Our clients canceled contracts. Suppliers demanded immediate payments. The banks denied us loans. We had two options: close the company or make a desperate move. I made the move. I pulled out the papers, deeds to the lake house, the house Julian and I bought in '89 with our first real savings, 3 bedrooms, a view of the water, a garden with old oak trees, our refuge, the place where we went every summer, where Ryan learned to swim, where I sat on the porch at sunset to watch the waves. I sold it for $200,000. Money that I put directly into the company as an unregistered personal investment. I did not put it as a loan. I did not ask for additional shares. I just put it there quietly, and I saved the company. Julian found out 3 months later when he was looking for some documents. Ellie, what did you do? What I had to do. That house was your dream. You said you wanted to grow old there. My dream is for our son to have a future Julian. The house can wait. The house never returned. Today, it would be worth about $800,000. Ryan's future did arrive, and he paid me with betrayal. I put the documents back in the box. I closed the lid. I hugged it against my chest as if it were a baby. The smell of cedar transported me to better times, when everything made sense, when effort was rewarded with loyalty. I cried like I had not cried since Julian's funeral. I cried until I had no tears left, until my throat burned, until my whole body ached. At 2 in the morning, I was still awake, lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, watching shadows that the streetlight projected. And at some point in that darkness, something changed. I stopped crying. I wiped my face. I turned on the lamp on the nightstand. If they want to play at power, I said aloud to the empty room, I am going to teach them what power really is. Because Brenda made a mistake, a huge mistake. She assumed I was a weak old woman clinging to the past. She assumed my silence was surrender. She did not know my history. She did not know about the lake house. She did not know that I had already faced the end of the world once and had survived. And this time I had something that I did not have back then. Experience, knowledge, and 40 years of relationships in the industry. I got out of bed. I went to the study. I turned on the computer. I opened my contact book. Names I had been cultivating for years. Clients who respected me. Suppliers who owed me favors. International certifiers who trusted my word more than any document. I opened a new document. I began to write. It was not a farewell letter. It was an inventory. A complete inventory of everything Eleanor Vance represented for Vance Industries. 11 active contracts that depended on my personal certifications. 17 years of relationships with clients who only worked with me. 3 unique quality protocols that I designed and only I understood completely. Technical knowledge that would take years to replicate. And the jewel in the crown, Clause 47B of the founding contract. Julian wrote that clause in 2008 when we had problems with a corrupt manager who threatened to go to the competition taking sensitive information. The clause established that if any employee with certifications critical to active contracts resigned, the company was obligated to notify clients immediately and enter a review period. It was designed to protect the company. Now it would protect me. If I resigned, those 11 contracts would automatically enter review. The clients could rescind. The company would lose immediate billing. And without my certifications, it would take months, maybe years, to meet the standards again. I smiled at the glowing screen. A cold, calculated smile. They thought suspending me would be punishing me, I murmured. They are going to learn that suspending me was setting me free. At 4 a.m, I finished the plan. Every step, every move, every consequence. At 5, I showered. I got dressed. I put on my gray pantsuit, the one I wore when I negotiated the biggest contract in the company's history, and I left the house. The sky was still dark, the streets empty. I drove toward the industrial plant with my heart beating firm and decided. Mr. Stevens, the night guard, saw me arrive. "Mrs. Vance, what are you doing here so early? I came to get something I forgot, Steve." A lie. I did not forget anything. I came to recover my dignity. And in the process, I was going to remind everyone why you never should underestimate a woman who built an empire from scratch. The war had begun, and I had just made my first move. The plant was submerged in that heavy silence that only exists before dawn. My footsteps echoed in the empty hallways as I walked toward my office. Mr. Stevens had let me pass without further questions. 30 years working together generates that trust. But I saw him looking worried in the rearview mirror as I drove away. I opened the door to my office and turned on the light. The mahogany desk awaited me. I bought it in 1987 with my first productivity bonus. $1,200, which for me then was a fortune. Solid mahogany with deep drawers and a wide surface where blueprints, documents, coffee cups, and my entire professional life fit. Brenda had surely already promised it to herself. She already imagined herself sitting there, queen of her little stolen empire. "Do not even dream of it," I whispered, touching the polished wood. I began to empty the drawers with precise, methodical movements. No rushing, no overflowing emotions, just cold efficiency. First drawer, my original certifications. ISO 9001, 14001, OHSAS 18001. Physical documents with my name, my photo, my signature, irreplaceable. I put them in a manila folder. Second drawer, signed contracts, where I appear as the technical lead. 11 active contracts, $3 million in annual billing. I took them all out. Third drawer, the USB drive with the complete backups. Everything was here. Every important email from the last 5 years, every technical specification, every negotiation. I put it in the inside pocket of my jacket. Fourth drawer, the photo of Julian, the only personal thing I had there. I took it carefully, wiped the dust from the frame with my sleeve. "Let's go home, love." I turned on the computer for the last time. While it booted up, I took 3 envelopes of bond paper from my purse. I already had the addresses written in my best calligraphy. Attorney Orozco Corporate Counsel, CP Efren Zarita, General Accountant, Board of Directors, urgent. The screen lit up. I opened Word. My fingers flew over the keyboard. 40 years in this business had taught me something crucial. The right words can build empires or destroy them. Letter of irrevocable resignation. Cleveland, Ohio, October 23, 2023. By means of this letter, I, Eleanor Vance, in my capacity as Director of Quality and Certifications for Vance Industries, present my irrevocable resignation from the position, effective immediately. Said resignation is made under the protection of my labor rights and in full use of my faculties without any coercion or defect of consent. Consequently, and in accordance with Article 47B of the company's founding contract, registered on March 15, 2008, my departure automatically and immediately activates the following mandatory actions. 1. Comprehensive review of certification compliance in all active contracts where I appear as technical lead. 2. Formal notification to all affected clients within the following 48 hours. 3. Preventive suspension of billing in said contracts until new verifiable certification. 4. External audit of quality processes. The affected contracts are the following. List of 11 contracts with reference numbers. I make formal delivery of all my functions, documentation, and responsibilities. I will not be held responsible for decisions made without my knowledge or authorization during the last 6 months. I appreciate the opportunity to have served this company for 42 years. Sincerely, Engineer Eleanor Vance, Professional License Number 2, 847563. I read the letter 3 times. Each word weighed like stone. Cold, legal, irrevocable. Clause 47. B was my nuclear weapon. Julian had designed it to protect the company from extortion. Ironically now, the company needed protection from itself. I printed 3 copies. I signed them with a blue pen, my full signature, taking my time. I placed them in their corresponding envelopes. I sealed each envelope with transparent tape. I stamped them with my initial in red wax, a seal that Julian had given me for our 10th anniversary, and I wrote on each one, "Confidential. Open immediately." It was 6:30 in the morning. The executive courier service opened at 7. Perfect. I finished clearing out the desk. I left it spotless, clean, empty. I only left a small note on the wooden surface written in my best handwriting. I learned to respect them. ER. I looked around the office for the last time. 22 years in this space. The walls knew my triumphs, my crises, my hidden tears when Julian died and I had to return the next day because there was an important audit. "Goodbye," I whispered. I took my box, small, almost pathetic, for 42 years of work, and I walked out. In the hallway, I found Rose from housekeeping. She arrived early to clean the offices. "Mrs. Eleanor." Her eyes went wide. "What are you doing with that box?" I could not lie to her. Rose had worked there since 1991. She watched me build all of this. "I am leaving, Rose." "You are leaving?" "What do you mean you are leaving?" "Things have changed. There is no place for me here anymore." Her eyes filled with tears. "That cannot be. You are this company." "Not anymore. Now it belongs to others." She hugged me, a strong motherly hug, even though I was 15 years older than her. "God bless you, Mrs. Eleanor. This company is not going to be the same without you." "I know," I said softly. "I know." I went down to the parking lot. Mr. Stevens helped me put the box in the car. "Is everything okay, Mrs. Eleanor?" "Everything is fine, Steve. Take care of yourself." "You too, and thank you for everything." I left the facility at 10 minutes to 7. The sun was just starting to peek out between the buildings. I drove directly to the executive courier office. The kid at the counter knew me. "Engineer Rivers, what can I do for you?" 3 urgent deliveries same day before 10 in the morning with a signed receipt. I gave him the addresses and a $20 tip. "It is very important that they arrive before 10. "Count on it, engineer. Is everything okay?" I smiled. "Everything is perfect." I returned to my car. I sat in the driver's seat. I looked at my watch. 7:15. Brenda would arrive at the office around 9:30. She was always late. Another one of her modern habits. Ryan would arrive around 9. By 10, the envelopes would be in the right hands. By 10:30, all hell would break loose. I started the car and drove home. On the way, I made a call. Diane. "Mrs. Eleanor, what is going on?" "It is 7:30 in the morning. I need you to do something for me. Do not ask why yet. Just trust me. You know I do. What do you need?" "Something big is going to happen at the company today. Very big. When it happens, I want you to be ready to make a decision." "What kind of decision?" "The decision of whether you continue working in a place where loyalty and honest work are not valued." Silence on the other end. Then, "I understand. Talk to Oliver and Sam. Only with them. Tell them to be ready. Ready for what, Mrs. Eleanor?" "To choose dignity over convenience." I hung up. I arrived at my house. I went in, made myself a coffee, sat in the living room with my steaming mug, and waited. The phone would not ring immediately. First there would be confusion, then panic, Then they would try to manage the crisis in silence. Only when they realized the magnitude of the disaster would they look for me. At 9:43, my phone vibrated. Ryan, I let it ring. 5 rings. 6. 7. I answered with a calm voice. Hello? Mom, what did you do? Good morning, Ryan. How did you sleep? Do not play games. Did you quit? Did you quit? That is correct. Yesterday you asked me to reflect on my attitude. Yes, I reflected. I decided you were right. I must respect your professional decisions. So I took a professional decision myself. This is madness. Do you know what that clause you activated means? Of course. I was present when your father drafted it. Are you going to sink us? No, son. I am not going to sink anything. You sank yourselves. I just got off the boat before it went down with me inside. Mom, please, we have to talk. Of course we can talk. When you are ready for an adult conversation where I am treated with the respect I deserve. Until then, have a good day. I hung up. The phone rang again immediately. Ryan again. I turned it off. I lay back on the sofa and closed my eyes. For the first time in months, I felt something resembling peace. Outside in some spotless office with Scandinavian furniture, Brenda would be starting to understand that she had woken a sleeping dragon. And dragons do not forgive. 9:45 in the morning. Brenda walked into Velasquez Industries with her Starbucks coffee in one hand and her designer bag in the other. She was wearing those heels she always wore to look taller, more imposing. The silver brooch shone on the lapel of her black blazer. She greeted the receptionist with that professional smile she practiced in front of the mirror. Good morning, Carla. Good morning, Mrs. Brenda. Carla looked at her strangely. There was something in her eyes. Pity, fear. Brenda did not pay it any mind. She walked toward the elevators, savoring her victory. Eleanor suspended. Eleanor humiliated. Eleanor finally out of the way. The position of quality director practically had her name written on it. The elevator doors opened on the 3rd floor. The hallway was strangely silent. Normally at this hour there was movement, people with coffee conversations. Not today. Today people looked at her sideways and looked away quickly. Paranoid, she told herself. They are just surprised that someone finally put a stop to the old woman. She arrived at Eleanor's office, her office now. She turned the handle with anticipation, almost tasting the moment. The door opened. The desk was completely empty. Brenda blinked. She walked in slowly. She looked around. The drawers open empty. The walls bare where framed certificates used to hang. The filing cabinet with doors wide open also empty. Only a small note remained on the mahogany surface. She took it with trembling fingers. I learned to respect them. E.R. What? Her voice sounded strange, high-pitched. What is this? She saw an envelope on the computer keyboard, addressed to Mr. Owens, the attorney. It was already open. Someone had broken the wax seal. Brenda picked it up. Her eyes flew over the lines. I present my irrevocable resignation. A smile began to form on her lips. She quit, the old drama queen quit. She kept reading. In accordance with Article 47B of the founding contract. The smile faltered. Automatically and immediately activates the following mandatory actions. The coffee slipped from her hand. The cup hit the floor. Brown liquid spread across the tiles. Comprehensive review of certification compliance. Preventive suspension of billing. 11 contracts affected. No, she whispered. No. No, no. The door burst open. Mr. Owens entered like a tornado. His impeccable suit was wrinkled. He had dark circles under his eyes. He was sweating. Where is Eleanor? His voice was a barely contained scream. Where is she? Brenda stepped back. I do not know. This office was like this when I arrived. Did you read this? Owens waved another copy of the letter. Do you know what this means? It means she quit. It is what we wanted, right? Owens looked at her as if she had said the stupidest thing in the universe. What we wanted. What we wanted. He ran his hands through his gray hair. Mrs. Brenda, do you have any idea what Clause 47B is? It is a security protocol or something like that. It is an anti-extortion protection clause that forces the company to notify all clients when a certified technical manager resigns. And Eleanor is the technical manager for 11 major contracts. Brenda's world began to spin. But can we hire another certifier? In how much time, madam, in 6 months, in a year, clients can rescind contracts immediately for technical non-compliance? And they are going to do it. That is ridiculous. Surely there is a way to... Owen's phone rang. He answered. He listened. His face went paler. I understand. Yes. Yes, I understand. You are canceling completely. I see. Thank you for notifying us. He hung up. He looked at Brenda with something worse than anger, with pure contempt. The Castaneda Group just canceled their contract. $400,000. They are going with Midwest Manufacturing. Brenda felt her legs go weak. That is just one client. It is the first one. It will not be the last. Owens walked up to her. Do you know what is the most beautiful thing about all of this, Mrs. Brenda? She shook her head, mute. That it is completely legal. Eleanor did not violate any law. She did not break any contract. She simply exercised her right to resign, and in the process she activated a clause she helped design 15 years ago. Owens let out a bitter laugh. She played us. She played us masterfully. The door opened again. Ryan ran in disheveled tie loose. Owens, my mother is not answering. I have called her 20 times. Because she does not want to answer you, Ryan, and frankly, I do not blame her. We have to do something. Convince her to come back. Come back? Owens let out another humorless laugh. Boy, your mother resigned irrevocably. Even if she wanted to come back legally, she cannot anymore. We would have to hire her again, with new terms, new conditions, and something tells me those conditions are going to be very, very different from the ones she had. Brenda found her voice. This is Ryan's fault. He agreed to suspend her. Ryan looked at her with fury. My fault? You were the one who convinced me it was a good idea. I only suggested she needed to reflect, not that she should quit. You humiliated her. You treated her like trash. What did you expect her to do? I expected her to behave like an adult and accept constructive criticism. Constructive criticism. Ryan was red with anger. You told her she suffocates innovation, that she is a bottleneck, that she needs to learn to respect us. Is that constructive to you? Owen's phone rang again, and then Ryan's, and then the office landline, all ringing at the same time. Owens answered his cell. Yes, I understand. No, at the moment we do not have... Yes, I understand your position. Thank you. He hung up. Midwest Hardware Supply. They are suspending purchase orders until further notice. $200,000 annually. Ryan answered his. His face went from red to ash. Yes, Mr. Maldonado, I understand. There is no way to... I see. I am very sorry that... Yes, goodbye. He lowered the phone slowly. Texco Solutions. Canceling. $180,000. The landline kept ringing. Brenda answered it with a shaking hand. Velasquez Industries. This is Mr. Saldivar from Northern Auto Parts. Is Engineer Rivers there? She no longer works here. Silence on the other end. Then we regret to inform you that we are rescinding our contract effective immediately. We will send the formal notification in writing. Good morning. Click. Brenda put down the phone. She looked at Ryan, then at Owens. How many contracts did you say were affected? 11, Owens replied with a dead voice. 11 contracts. $3 million in annual billing. But we can recover them. We can explain to them that... Explain what that we pushed out the only person they trusted, the person who built those relationships over decades. Owens let himself fall into a chair. Mrs. Brenda, do you know why those clients worked with us? Brenda did not answer. Because of Eleanor, not because of the company. Because of her personal reputation, because of her non-transferable certifications. Because when she signed a quality document, it was worth more than any external audit. Owens looked her straight in the eye. And you people pushed her out. The phone rang again. Nobody answered. It kept ringing and ringing. Brenda let herself fall into the mahogany desk chair. The desk she thought would be hers. She touched her silver brooch, instinctively looking for comfort. The metal felt cold, empty, like her entire carefully built plan, which had just collapsed in less than an hour. We have to fix it, she whispered. There has to be a way to fix it. Ryan looked at her with something new in his eyes, something that had not been there before. Doubt. Fix it, Brenda. We just lost $3 million because you convinced me that my mother was the problem. She is the problem. Look at what she did. She sabotaged us. No, Ryan yelled for the first time in his life. We sabotaged her, and she just defended herself. The door opened again. 3 people walked in. Diane Solano, Oliver Ramez, Sam Cortez, Eleanor's 3 protégés, all 3 with envelopes in their hands. Diane spoke first. Ryan, we are here to submit our resignations. Brenda's world finished crumbling, and in a quiet house with a cup of coffee in her hands, Eleanor Rivers smiled. The first move had been hers, and it had been devastating. Ryan looked at the 3 envelopes as if they were poisonous snakes. You cannot quit, not all at the same time. We can, and we are doing it, Oliver replied with a firm voice. Effective in 2 weeks as required by law. 2 weeks? Brenda stood up abruptly. Do you know the chaos you are going to generate? Diane looked at her with a coldness that cut deep. The same chaos you generated by pushing Eleanor out. She resigned of her own free will, Brenda argued. Nobody forced her. You forced her. Sam spoke for the first time. His voice was low, dangerous. You humiliated her systematically for months. You undermined her in front of clients. You treated her like an obstacle in the company she built, and now you play the victims when there are consequences. That is not true. Brenda felt control slipping through her fingers. I was only trying to modernize processes. Modernize? Diane took out her phone. I have here the email you sent to Miranda Solis 3 months ago. Do you want me to read it out loud? The silence was absolute. I thought not. Diane put her phone away. I worked with Eleanor for 18 years. She taught me everything I know. She gave me opportunities no one else would give me. And I am not going to stay in a company that treats the people who built it like that. The 3 of them left their envelopes on the desk and walked out without saying another word. Ryan let himself fall into a chair. He had a 1,000-yard stare. It is over. It is all over. Do not say that. Brenda tried to sound sure, but her voice was shaking. We can hire new managers. We can... Hire who? Owens interrupted. Do you know how much institutional knowledge we just lost? Diane has been handling production for 18 years. Oliver, 15 in quality. Sam, 12 in logistics. That is 45 years of combined experience. Ryan's phone vibrated. A text message. Then another and another. He looked at it. His face lost all color. Monterey Group cancels. Pacific Automotive cancels. Southeastern Industrial Systems cancels. Each name was a hammer blow. How much have we lost? Brenda asked, although she did not want to know the answer. Owens took out his tablet. He typed numbers quickly. $1 million. And it is barely 11 in the morning. Brenda felt the walls closing in on her. This could not be happening. It was impossible. A 67-year-old old lady could not cause this level of destruction with a simple letter, but she was doing it. "We need a plan," she said, trying to regain some control. "Call the clients personally, offer them discounts, extended warranties, whatever." I already tried. Ryan had a dead voice. Mr. Palacios from the Castaneda Group hung up on me. He said verbatim, "Your mother is the only reason we worked with you. Without her, there is no deal." "Then let's go to her." Brenda felt desperation climbing up her throat. "Ryan, go to your mother. Ask her for forgiveness. Convince her to return." Forgiveness. Ryan looked at her with new eyes, eyes that finally saw. "Brenda, we told her she needed to learn to respect us. We suspended her without pay. We treated her like a problematic employee, and now you want me to go ask her for forgiveness to save our skins, to save the company she built, the company where we are intruders compared to her." Ryan stood up. "Do you know what is the worst part of all this?" Brenda did not answer. That she was right about everything. About every damn thing she said, and I chose to believe you instead of believing the woman who gave me life and built my future. The door opened again. This time, Evan Zeller, the accountant, walked in. He was carrying a thick folder under his arm and an expression that promised nothing good. "We need to talk. Now." "Evan, this is not a good time." Ryan began. "I do not care." Zeller slammed the folder onto the desk. "The board of directors has called an emergency meeting. All the partners at 3 p.m, and you two." He looked at Ryan and Brenda. "You are going to have to give a lot of explanations." Explanations for what? Brenda felt she was in quicksand. Zeller opened the folder. He took out a stack of documents. "I requested an internal audit of all authorized expenses in the last 18 months. A routine check that should have been done a long time ago." He put the first document in front of Brenda. "Hotel in Cabo. 5 nights. Presidential suite. Billed as Hotel Management Training for Customer Service Improvement. $9,000. Brenda turned pale. That was a seminar at a beach resort. Without any certificate of attendance, without any proof of training. Zeller put down another document. Boutique on 5th Avenue. 3 Armani suits. Billed as corporate attire for business representation. $4,500. Corporate image is important. For whom? For you. Zeller was relentless. He kept taking out documents. Pujol Restaurant, 6 occasions. Dinners ranging from $200 to $400 each, billed as business meetings, without any client present. Just you and your friends. Ryan took the documents. He read them one by one. His expression went from shock to horror to fury. Spa in the hills, facial treatments, massages, $4,000, trip to Miami. Business conference, no record of any conference, jewelry at Tiffany's. Ryan looked up. Jewelry. They were for corporate gifts. Corporate gifts. Zeller took out a photo from Instagram. Brenda at a party wearing a small but elegant diamond necklace. This photo is dated 2 days after the purchase. Which client did you give this to, madam? Silence. In total, Zeller closed the folder. $60,000 in fraudulent expenses. And that is only what I found in a superficial review. A full audit will probably find more. Ryan stood up slowly. He looked at his wife as if she were a stranger. What are you, Ryan? Let me explain. Explain what? That while you accused my mother of being obsolete and authoritarian, you were stealing from the company. I was not stealing. They were justified expenses. Lies. For the first time in his life, Ryan screamed with a fury that echoed off the walls. Everything is a lie. The training, the business meetings, your concern for modernizing the company, everything. Owens intervened with an icy voice. There is more. More. Ryan could not believe there was more. The emails to Miranda Solis. We recovered them all, confidential technical specifications, client lists with profit margins, commercial strategies, all sent to our direct competition. Owens looked at Brenda with disgust. Do you know what that is called? Legally industrial espionage. She asked me for industry references. You shared trade secrets with a direct competitor. Owens took out his phone. I have here a text message from Miranda Solis to her team. A contact I have over there sent it to me. Do you want me to read it? Brenda did not answer, but the terror in her eyes was answer enough. Brenda is the goose that lays the golden eggs. Keep feeding her ego and she will give us everything we need to sink Velasquez. When Eleanor leaves, the company will be vulnerable. Then we attack. Owens put his phone away. They used you. They manipulated you. And you were so vain, so blind that you never saw it. Brenda's legs gave out. She slumped into the chair. The board is going to demand your resignation. Owens continued, and if you do not resign voluntarily, we will proceed legally for fraud and asset damage. Ryan, Brenda reached out her hand toward her husband. Ryan, please. He stepped back. Do not touch me. I am your wife. You are a stranger, a liar, a thief. Ryan had tears in his eyes. And I was so stupid, so blind that I let you poison my relationship with my mother to protect your own lies. Ryan, I love you. You do not know what love is. Ryan took out his phone. He dialed a number he knew by heart that he had dialed 1,000 times in his life, the number he had ignored 20 times that morning. It rang once, 2, 3. On the 4th ring, she answered. Mom. Ryan's voice broke. Mom, please, please, I need to talk to you. From her living room with a cup of coffee already cold in her hands, Eleanor Rivers heard her son cry for the first time since he was a child, and she said nothing because some lessons need silence to be learned, and this one was just beginning. Ryan arrived at my house at 11:30 at night. I heard his car park outside the door close his slow footsteps up the stone path. He did not ring the doorbell immediately. He stood there on the other side of the door for 5 full minutes. I was in the living room sitting in Julian's armchair with the cedar box on my lap. I had been rereading the letters looking for comfort in words written years ago by the only man who never betrayed me. When he finally knocked, his knock was soft, almost fearful. I got up slowly. My knees protested. The arthritis always gets worse at night. And I walked to the door. I looked through the peephole. My son was destroyed. Tie loosened jacket, wrinkled deep circles under his eyes. He had been crying. I knew him too well not to recognize the signs. I opened the door only halfway. I said nothing. I just looked at him. Mom. His voice broke immediately. Mom, please, I need to talk to you. It is almost midnight, Ryan. I know I am sorry, but I could not wait until tomorrow. He ran a hand over his face. Please, just give me 5 minutes. I stood there in the threshold holding the door. Part of me wanted to slam it in his face. Part of me wanted to make him suffer as I had suffered. But he was my son, and as much as he had betrayed me, he was still my son. I opened the door completely. Come in. He entered slowly, as if walking on a minefield. He looked around the living room. The family photos, the furniture he had known since he was a boy. Everything was familiar to him, and at the same time completely alien. Sit down, I said, pointing to the sofa. He sat on the edge, uncomfortable. I returned to Julian's armchair. I kept my distance. Do you want coffee? I asked with a neutral voice. No, thank you. He clasped his hands, separated them, clasped them again, nervous. Mom, I do not know where to start. Start at the beginning or at the end. It does not matter much at this point. He took a deep breath. Today was the worst day of my life. Worse than the day your father died. The question was cruel. I knew it the moment it left my mouth, but I was tired of being kind. Ryan shrank as if I had hit him. No, not worse than that, but almost. Tell me. And he did. He told me everything. The calls from clients canceling contracts, the resignations of Diane Oliver and Sam, Evan's audit, Brenda's fraudulent expenses, the emails to Miranda Solis. Each word was a nail in a coffin he had built himself. I listened without interrupting him, without showing emotion. I let him empty himself completely. When he finished, he remained there, sitting small broken. "Mom, I ruined everything. Everything you and Dad built. I destroyed it by being a blind idiot." "Yes," I said simply, "you did." He expected me to contradict him, to give him hope, but I was not there to give easy comfort. "She manipulated me," he continued with a broken voice. "For years, she made me believe that you were the problem, that you were controlling, inflexible, that you blocked progress. And you believed her. Yes. Why long silence uncomfortable? Because it was easier," he admitted finally. "Believing her was easier than standing up to you, than defending my wife from my mother. It was the path of least resistance." Cowardice. Yes, pure cowardice. He looked up. Tears ran down his cheeks. "Mom, do you know how many times Brenda humiliated you in front of me and I said nothing? How many times I defended you in private with myself and I just nodded? How many times I chose her comfort over your dignity? No, how many too many? So many that I lost count." He wiped his tears with rage. "Dad would be so ashamed of me. Your father would be devastated." More silence. The clock on the wall marked the seconds. Tick-tock, tick-tock. "The board met this afternoon," Ryan said. "They demanded Brenda resign or they would proceed legally. She resigned, but before leaving, she tried one last thing." "What thing?" "She said that you had sabotaged her from the beginning, that you never accepted her, that it was all revenge because you could not stand that I had found someone who loved me." Something cold settled in my chest. "And what did the others say?" Mr. Morris stood up. "Do you remember him, minority partner since the 90s? "Of course I remember him. Julian helped him when he was bankrupt. Well, Mr. Morris took out a folder. It was a project that Brenda had proposed a year ago. Modification to the industrial safety system." Ryan paused. "Do you know why you rejected it? Because it violated 7 occupational safety standards. If implemented, a worker could have been seriously injured or died. Exactly. Mr. Morris told Brenda, Eleanor saved us from a $1 million lawsuit and possibly from causing someone's death, and you people pushed her out for that, for doing her job." Ryan let out a bitter laugh. Brenda had no answer. "She left there destroyed. And you, I signed her severance, and when I got home, I asked for a divorce. I did not expect that. Divorce. I cannot stay married to someone like that, to someone who not only lied to me, but destroyed my relationship with my mother to cover her own lies." Ryan leaned forward. "Mom, I am not coming here to ask you to return to the company. No, no, I am coming to ask you to forgive me as your son." My heart clenched. This conversation that I had imagined 1,000 times in my head never played out like this. "Ryan, I know I do not deserve your forgiveness. I know I betrayed you in the worst way possible, but I need you to know—" His voice broke completely. "I need you to know that I regret it. With every fiber of my being, I regret being so blind, so weak, such a bad son." I stood up. I walked to the window. I looked at the empty street, the lights of the street lamps, the shadows of the night. "Do you know what hurts me the most, Ryan? What, Mom? That I sold my beach house for you." Absolute silence behind me. "In 1997, when the company was about to go bankrupt, I sold that house. The house your father and I bought with our first savings. Our refuge, our dream." I turned to look at him. "I sold it for $150,000. I put that money into the company without telling anyone. I registered it as a non-refundable personal investment." Do you know why? Ryan was shaking his head, silent tears falling. Because if I had put it as a loan, you would have inherited a debt, and I did not want you to carry that. I preferred it to be an invisible gift. I walked toward him. That house today would be worth about $500,000. $500,000 that I lost so that you would have a future. Mom, I did not know. Of course you did not know. Because those are the kind of sacrifices mothers make. Invisible, without expecting recognition. I sat in front of him. But what I did expect was respect, basic loyalty that when someone attacked me, my son would defend me, and you did not do it. I know. You left me alone. Worse yet, you joined her. You validated her attacks. You made me feel like I was crazy for defending myself. I know, Mom, and there are no words to express how sorry I am. I looked at him for a long time. This 44-year-old man who was still my baby, the boy who slept in the crib in the warehouse, the teenager who asked me for advice, the man who hugged me at his father's funeral and promised me we would always be together. Did you know I have gone 3 months without sleeping well? I told him. Every night I woke up thinking about what I did wrong, how I failed as a mother, so that my son would choose a stranger over me. You did not fail, Mom. I failed, we both failed. Me for not seeing that you needed help. You for not having the courage to ask for it. I got up again. I went to the study. I returned with a folder. I put it on the coffee table. What is this? Ryan asked. The plan I made last night. Every step, every consequence I knew was going to happen. I opened the folder. I knew the clients would cancel. I knew Diane, Oliver, and Sam would resign. I planned it all. Ryan looked at the documents with horror. You planned to destroy the company. Not destroy it. Teach you a lesson. I closed the folder. Because you needed to learn something fundamental. I am not an old piece of furniture that can be discarded. I am the backbone of that company, and when you remove the backbone, everything collapses. I understand now. God, I understand. Really? I stared at him. Because understanding with the head is easy, Ryan. The hard part is understanding with the heart. It is truly changing. What do I need to do? First, therapy, individual. You need to work on your codependency, your need for approval, your fear of conflict. Agreed. Second, transparency, total, in the company and in your personal life. No secrets, no half-truths. Yes. Third time. We are not going to fix this in a week or a month. It is going to take years to rebuild what was broken. I will wait as long as necessary, Mom. I sat next to him. For the first time in the conversation, I touched him. I put my hand over his. Ryan, I am going to tell you something I need you to understand completely. Tell me. I forgive you. His eyes went wide. I forgive you because you are my son. Because despite everything, I love you. Because I know that the person who betrayed me is not really you. It was a manipulated, confused version of you. I squeezed his hand. But forgiving does not mean forgetting. And it does not mean everything goes back to how it was immediately. I understand. And the company. What about the company? That, I said with a small smile, is another conversation. Ryan let out a laugh through tears. Does that mean there is hope? It means that tomorrow at 10 in the morning, the board of directors will come to my house with a proposal, and I will decide if it is worth saving what is left. And is it worth it? I looked at him for a long time. That depends on you, on whether you are willing to do things right this time. To value what you have. To respect those who built all of this. Ryan stayed a while longer. We talked about small things. About Isabella missing me, about how he was handling the divorce, about his fears regarding the future. When he left close to 1 in the morning, I hugged him at the door. I love you, Mom. He whispered against my shoulder. I love you too, son. Always. I watched him drive away in his car. When the taillights disappeared around the corner, I closed the door. I leaned against it and breathed deep. The forgiveness was real, but the wound was there, and healing would take time. A lot of time. At 10 o'clock sharp in the morning, the doorbell rang. German punctuality. Mr. Morris had always been like that. I had prepared myself with care. Not the battle suit I used for difficult negotiations. Something simpler. Ivory blouse, black dress, pants, the pearl necklace Julian gave me for our 10th anniversary. I wanted to look professional but accessible. Strong but not intimidating. I opened the door. Mr. Morris led the group. 72 years old. Hair completely white, blue eyes that had seen everything. Behind him, Owens Evan Zeller and 2 other board members I had known for decades. Patricia Salazar, a partner since 2005, and Richard Mendizabal, who joined in 2010. Eleanor, Mr. Morris extended his hand. Thank you for receiving us. Morris, I shook his hand, firm, warm. Come in, please. I guided them to the living room. Rose, my neighbor, had come early to help me prepare coffee and sweet bread. A Mexican business meeting always includes coffee. They sat on the sofas. I took my place in Julian's armchair, position of power but in my territory. Coffee, I offered. Please, Patricia replied. I served personally, important ritual. It gave them time to organize themselves, to order their thoughts, and it gave me time to observe them. They were nervous. Mr. Morris hid it well, but I knew that tension in his shoulders. Owens reviewed documents in his briefcase over and over again. Evan drummed his fingers against his knee. They were afraid I would say no. Good, they should be afraid. So, I said, finally sitting down with my own cup, to what do I owe the honor of this visit? Mr. Morris took the floor. Eleanor, I am not going to beat around the bush. The company is in crisis, a crisis that we, the board, allowed to happen by not being attentive enough. I took a sip of coffee. I said nothing. In the last 48 hours, we lost $1 million in canceled contracts. Patricia continued. 3 of our best managers resigned, and we discovered internal fraud for more than $60,000. Sounds terrible, I commented with a neutral voice. It is, admitted Richard, and it is because we pushed out the only person who kept everything running. I did not leave, I corrected softly. You pushed me out. Uncomfortable silence. You are right. Mr. Morris nodded. We pushed you out, and it was the biggest mistake this company has committed in its 42 years of existence. 43, I corrected again. We turn 43 in March. 43 years, he repeated. Years that you built, you and Julian. While we only put in money, you put in blood, sweat, and tears. Where do you want to go with this? Owens took out a folder. He put it on the coffee table. We have a proposal. One that we hope is fair. One that reflects your true value to the company. I opened the folder. I read slowly, carefully. It was 10 pages of contract. Proposal for reincorporation and restructuring. 1. Position President of the Board of Directors. 2. Stock percentage. 35% of company shares to be transferred to the name of Eleanor Rivers of Velasquez. 3. Monthly salary, $15,000. Plus quarterly bonuses for results. 4. Complete autonomy in decisions regarding quality certifications and human resources. 5. Veto right in major strategic decisions. 6. Ryan Velasquez remains as commercial manager, reporting to a new general director to be chosen by Mrs. Rivers. 7. Probation period of 6 months for Ryan Velasquez with monthly evaluations. 8. Complete and immediate external audit by an international firm. 9. New code of corporate ethics. 10. Public restoration of reputation through official statement to all clients, suppliers, and specialized media. I kept reading. There was more. Specific clauses about benefits, retirement, insurance, all very generous, too generous. I looked up. Where will the shares come from? From us? replied Mr. Morris. The 5 current partners will cede equal percentages. I will give 7% of my share. The others will do the same. That leaves you with less voting power. That is the point, Eleanor. You should have had that power all along. Julian and you built the company. We only helped with capital. I closed the folder. It is a very generous proposal. But, Patricia asked, perceiving my tone, but what guarantee do I have that it will not happen again? That in 2 years, another Brenda or Ryan won't appear deciding I am obsolete? These guarantees. Owens took out another document. Armored contract. You cannot be removed from your position without an 80% majority of the board. And since you will have 35% of the shares, that makes you practically immovable. And Ryan? Mr. Morris sighed. Ryan is your son. We are not going to fire him, but he is not going to have the power he had either. He will report to the general director you choose, and if in 6 months he does not demonstrate real, genuine change, he will leave. Did he accept this? He proposed it, said Evan. He came to my house last night. He told me he would do whatever was necessary to amend his mistake, even if that meant working from the bottom. I looked at my coffee. It was already cold, like so many things in my life lately. There is something I need to know, I said, looking up. Why now? Why when I already left? Why not when Brenda started undermining me a year ago? Heavy silence. Patricia spoke first. Because we were blind. Because we trusted Ryan when he said the conflicts were normal generational differences. Because Brenda was charismatic modern, she said the things we wanted to hear. And because we assumed, Mr. Morris added with shame in his voice, that you would always be there, that you were a fact, not an option. And we learned the hard way that people are not permanent, especially when you mistreat them. Are you apologizing to me? I asked directly. Yes, the 5 said in unison. Why? For allowing them to disrespect you, replied Mr. Morris, for not defending your work when Brenda questioned it, for not investigating deeper when we started hearing negative comments about you, for forgetting that you are the reason why our investments were worth it. I stood up. I walked to the window. I saw my garden. The roses I planted when Julian died. 9 years growing blooming every spring. Resilient. Do you know what hurt me the most about all this? I asked, without turning around. What? Patricia asked softly. It was not Brenda's humiliations. It was not losing contracts or having my work questioned. I turned around. It was that no one, not a single one of you, looked for me afterward. Not a call, not a message. I resigned, and it was as if I had never existed. Mr. Morris lowered his head. You are right, and we have no excuse. I called you, said Evan suddenly, last night 3 times. You did not answer. Because I was talking to my son, having a conversation we should have had years ago. And how is he? Patricia asked. Destroyed, regretful, starting therapy. I returned to my seat, but alive and willing to work on himself. And you? Asked Mr. Morris. Are you willing to work with us again? That was the question, the $1 million question. I looked at the folder on the table. I looked at the 5 people observing me with hope. I thought about 43 years of work, about Julian, about the beach house I sacrificed, about all the sleepless nights, the stressful audits, the negotiated contracts. I thought about the 200 employees who would lose their jobs if the company went bankrupt, about Diane Oliver Sam, about Rose from housekeeping, about Steve from security, about all the families that depended on Velasquez Industries. And I thought about myself, about Eleanor Rivers, the poor girl from the rural town who became an engineer, the woman who built an empire with her husband, the mother who sacrificed everything for her son, the professional who never gave up. I have additional conditions, I said finally. They leaned forward, attentive. First, I want Diane, Oliver, and Sam to return with a 20% raise and a public apology for not having valued their loyalty. Done, said Mr. Morris. Second, I want to implement a mentorship program. No more family members in positions they do not deserve. If someone enters this company, they rise by merit. Period. Done. Third, work-life balance for everyone. No more glorification of overwork. If I, at my 67 years, can have balance, everyone can. Absolutely. Fourth, my mother's silver brooch. Everyone looked confused. Brenda has a brooch I gave her. It was my mother's. My grandmother's. 3 generations. I want it back. We recovered it in the seizure of her personal assets for the fraud, said Owens. It is in my office. It is yours. Good. I took a deep breath. And fifth, the most important one. Which one? Never again allow someone to disrespect the founders of this company, those who build, those who sacrifice, because that is the day the company loses its soul. Absolute silence. Mr. Morris extended his hand. So, do we have a deal? I looked at his hand. I looked at the folder. I looked at all of them. And I smiled. We have a deal. My first day back was a Monday. I arrived at 8 in the morning, not at 5 like before. Balance, I had said. And I meant it. Mr. Stevens was at the entrance. When he saw me, his eyes filled with tears. Mrs. Eleanor, welcome home. Thank you, Steve. It is good to be back. I walked through the hallways. The employees came out of their offices peeked out. Some applauded. Others just smiled. Rose ran to hug me. I knew it. I knew you would return. I arrived at my office. The door had a new plaque. President of the Board, E.N.G. Eleanor Rivers of Velasquez. The mahogany desk awaited me. On it, a pot of purple orchids and a note from Ryan. Welcome home, Mom. Thank you for giving me another opportunity. R. And next to the flowers in a small velvet box, my mother's silver brooch. I took it with trembling hands. I held it against the light. 3 generations. My grandmother, my mother, me. And someday, if things went well, Isabella. I pinned it on my blouse. The first weeks were intense. I recovered 9 of the 11 lost contracts. The Castaneda Group was the first to return. Engineer Rivers, said Mr. Palacios on the phone, we just wanted to remind you why we work with you. Because of you. Because of your word. Because of your integrity. Contract renewed. 11,300,000 pesos. No, let's say $500,000, more than the original. Diane, Oliver, and Sam returned. I received them personally with apologies from the full board and their raises. We only left because we did not want to work without you, said Diane, hugging me. Ryan worked in silence. He arrived early, left late. He fulfilled every task without complaining, without expecting recognition. Once a week we had lunch together. We did not talk about work. We talked about him, about his therapy, about Isabella. He was changing. Slowly, painfully, but changing. Brenda disappeared. I heard she went to another city to work in a small company. The divorce was in process. I felt no satisfaction, only sadness for the time lost. 6 months later, at the board meeting, Mr. Morris announced the results. Record billing of $14 million annually. 3 new international contracts, certifications renewed, solid company. All thanks to you, Eleanor, he said, raising his glass of water. No, I corrected. Thanks to everyone. Thanks to remembering that a company is people, and people deserve respect. That night, in my empty office, I looked at Julian's photo. We did it, my love. Again. We survived again. And for the first time in years, I felt peace. Real peace. 1 year after my return, I received an unexpected call. Engineer Rivers, this is Miranda Solis. I tensed up. What do you want? To apologize. Her voice sounded tired. And to warn you, Brenda is trying to sue the company for wrongful termination. She says she has proof that you sabotaged her. I smiled coldly. Let her try. We have documents of her fraud, her emails to you, everything. I know. That is why I'm calling. I want to testify in your favor, free. Why? Because what I did was wrong. I used Brenda to sink your company, and in the end, I only sank my own integrity. Long pause. You are a legend in this industry, engineer, and I was a fool to try to destroy you. The lawsuit never prospered. The judge threw it out in the first hearing. Brenda had to pay the costs, $17,000. The last time I heard of her, she was working in a basic administrative position, without power, without influence, alone. I felt no victory, just relief that that stage was over. Ryan completed his probation year. The board voted unanimously to keep him. He had genuinely changed. He was humble, hardworking, honest. Mom. He told me one Friday after our weekly lunch, "Thank you, Wifam, for not giving up on me, for teaching me the hardest lesson of my life." I hugged him. Children always deserve another chance. Always. Isabella comes to my office every Saturday. I teach her about the company, about integrity, about working with dignity. She is 9 years old and she already knows more about certifications than many engineers. "Grandma Ellie," she asked me one day, "were you ever afraid of not being able to fix everything? All the time, my love. Then how did you do it?" I touched the silver brooch on my blouse. I remembered who I am, and I decided that nobody was going to take that away from me. Today, at my 68 years, I continue working, but now with balance, now with peace, now knowing my value, because I learned something fundamental. Respect is not begged, for it is demonstrated, and when they deny it to you, you do not fight to recover it. You simply leave, and when you leave, you take everything that makes you valuable with you. I took 43 years to build an empire. I took 40 seconds to resign, and 6 months to rebuild it stronger than ever. Because true strength is not in holding on. It is in knowing when to let go, and when to return on your own terms. I am Eleanor Rivers of Velasquez, and I defend what is mine, until the last breath. 5 years after that early morning when I signed my resignation, I am sitting in my office watching the sunset through the window. The silver brooch shines on my blouse. The cedar box with Julian's letters rests in the top drawer of my mahogany desk. Velasquez Industries now bills nearly $15 million annually. Ryan is general director. He earned it. Every day, every difficult decision, every moment of humility. Isabella is 14 years old and says she wants to study engineering, like her grandmother. Brenda never returned. I heard she got married again. I hope she learned something, for her sake. Sometimes they ask me, "Wasn't what you did very hard? Almost destroying the company?" And I always answer the same thing. I did not almost destroy it. I showed them what happened without me. There is a difference. Because it was not about revenge. Revenge is hot, impulsive, empty. This was justice. And justice is cold, calculated, permanent. I learned that forgiveness is possible, but respect is not negotiable. I learned that you can love someone deeply and still set boundaries. I learned that true loyalty is demonstrated in difficult moments, not in comfortable ones. And I learned that it is never too late to defend your dignity. I am 72 years old now. My back still hurts. My hands have more arthritis. But I am here, standing, with my company, my rebuilt family, and my dignity intact. Last night, Ryan called me. "Mom Isabella asks if she can stay with you this weekend. She wants you to teach her more about certifications." Tell her yes, always yes. Because that is my real revenge. Not destroying, building. Teaching the next generation that honest work is worth it. That integrity matters. That strong women do not break. They rebuild themselves. If this story touched your heart, if you ever felt invisible, underestimated, or betrayed by those you loved, leave me a comment telling me where you are watching us from. Like if you believe that dignity must always be defended, and subscribe to keep listening to stories of women who refuse to be invisible. Because in the end, it is not about how much you have. It is about how much you are willing to defend what you built. And I, Eleanor Rivers, defended what was mine, until the last breath, the end.